Welcome to Self-Care Saturday with Indy Jones. Today, as always, we have two wonderful guests because we're focusing on the color of my resilience. I got a self-care journal for Black women. So of course, we have two lovely sisters here today, and they're going to introduce themselves. We're going to start with Manina, and then we will finish out with Shy.
Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for having me on your show today. Um, my name is Manina, and I own an online bookstore that caters to Black self published authors. With me being an avid reader, it was getting to the point where I couldn't find certain authors or any authors in the genres that I liked. So instead of getting mad that I couldn't find the authors that I liked in the bookstore, I decided to create my own bookstore. That way I would have access to all of the authors, especially all of the Black authors that I wanted to read. And I know if I was looking for Black authors, there were others out there that also are looking for the same thing that I was looking for. So I decided to create that avenue to host Black self published authors.
And it's wonderful. To let people know where they can find you, Manina, please.
So, my website for the online store is www.legacybookbar.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, also at Legacy Book Bar. I believe Twitter is L Book Bar due to those characters. You can only have a certain
Mhm.
amount on Twitter. And you can also find us on YouTube also at Legacy Book Bar.
Talk a little bit about some of the events that you have that's connected to Legacy Book Bar. It's actually part of what you do other than sell books online and
Absolutely.
actually here in Maryland.
Of course. So online, we host a monthly book club where we actually have the authors on the call. So people can, family, friends of the author, myself, people that purchase the books can actually read the books and then come on the call on the third Saturday of the month and actually get to talk about the book in depth with the authors on the call. So the who, what, wins. Oh my gosh, why did you kill this person off? Oh my gosh, it was such a tearjerker. I did not like this book at all. You get to have all of those questions, of course, in a respectful manner, but we get to have that wonderful conversation in a very intimate setting online. And we've had a lot of fun. We've been doing that since the beginning when Legacy Book Bar started in 2020. And every month it has been very successful with our calls. This month in October, we have two. I actually get to have Natalie on the call with me October 23rd. I think we're
Mhm. Yep.
doing Moth That Claws, book two of the Feline Nation. And then, of course, because it's Halloween season, we have to throw in that horror suspense so that I'll be talking with she's actually a owner of a publishing company called Mocha Memoirs Press, and
Mhm.
she's also an author herself. We're talking to Nicole Kurtz, and we'll be discussing her book, The 6 o'clock Hour, on October 23rd. Um, that's a little bit about our online stuff. I have a kiosk here at the local mall here in Maryland called White Marsh Mall. And then Halloween weekend, I will be hosting Legacy's first in person event called Legacy Book Bar Book Summit Volume 2. So, authors like Natalie, authors like A. Lewis, and some others that are a part of Legacy Book Bar will have tables and you'll be able to purchase books and get the authors to sign them with your purchase. So, got a
Right.
lot of big stuff coming
There's
up
a
in
lot of stuff.
October.
And the great thing is that when this airs, a lot of what you just said would have already passed. They can go into your
Mhm.
YouTube, catch those interviews. And the great thing is that you would have already been doing more stuff in the 2022 year. So people have that to look forward to. So thank
Mhm.
you for just being here with us today. And I look forward to
Absolutely.
having this conversation. And then my beautiful, my wonderful, she don't roll her eyes, Shy August. Uh, you know, introduce yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about
Okay.
you.
So, beautiful compliments go over my head, but I I am Shy August. I write paranormal. Well, I say I write on the edge of paranormal and epic fantasy because my series has one long generational storyline. But I love love and I love to put people together. So that's what I write, and I love shifters and magic. Where you can find me is everywhere, Shy August. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And if you get lost, you can always look for my link tree. It's linktr.ee/Shy August, SHAI August. And on Wednesday nights, I host a Shut Up and Write. It's a writing session for authors, so you can drop in on the Zoom chat, and there's a bunch of us, and we talk smack and then review each other's work, and then challenge each other to write more. And in the next couple of months, I'm launching my podcast, which is called What is Romance, where I sit down with romance authors and we talk about the big things and the little things that make up romance, because it's one of those things where you know what it is when you see it, but can you define it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing.
And what's your main series, please?
It's called The Rare and the Unknown. It's the Shifter Bachelor. So it's like the dating show The Bachelor, but with shifters.
Menina is listening.
Intensely. I'm sitting there like, so when can I get book one?
Exactly.
Anytime you want, I'm available on Amazon, and you can download it, and I can even send you a copy, girl. Let me know what you want.
See, there we go. I love it. Connections made right there. All right, and those lovely book covers behind her. So that's wonderful. And I'm ready to start. You guys ready?
Oh, you like my cover?
Oh, you know I do. Don't even start. You lean back too far there, sister. Come on.
No.
I have to read them in order. Can I read them by the book cover I like the most? Like, which one?
So if you go on my website, which is shyaugust.com, there's the Shy August reading order. So I have it hyperlinked so you can go to the reading order and read them that way. But I know some people who just read them by cover. So they group the covers together. All the blue ones are the same series. All the black ones are the same series. And the ones in between are just like spinoffs.
Yes.
And Menina loves great covers. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, she loves a great story even more, but that visual, if it catches her, she's there to at least give it a try, right? And because she knows she's a bookseller, and she knows that cover at least will draw someone in, and then her magic does the rest. So.
I'm one of those people too. I judge books by their cover. So if you have a bad cover, I don't even want to look at it. Like, I don't want to read it. I completely understand that.
Right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So let's begin with this question I ask every single time, and I think it grounds the conversation. What does it mean to be a Black woman in the 21st century? And since Menina introduced herself first, I'm going to begin with you, Shy.
Oh, I should have known that was coming. I think it was Malcolm X who said, the Black woman is the most underappreciated, underrated woman in the world. And it's true. I mean, it's hard being a Black woman. And one of the things that I realized so much, because it keeps coming back and smacking me in the face, is like, Black women are the arbiters of cool, you know what I mean? And like everybody else tries to copy that and to like steal the joy that we have in being ourselves and being together. Like, I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups, and there's Black women who love Costco and Black women who decorate. And there's always a fuss about, oh, this white girl's trying to get in. Because, we have those gatekeeping questions like, what are Big Red's office hours? And if you don't know Big Red's office hours and you don't know what movie that's from, you're like, I don't know. Or, you don't know the cookout rules, because, it's the unspoken Black culture that we have that white people have never had to assimilate to, because we always assimilate to them instead of the other way around.
That's good. What about you, Menina? What does it mean for you?
I kind of agree with Shy. Like, we're undervalued and underappreciated in all walks of life. being a little bit older, I see it more, and it's crazy how even in the literary world, um, growing up, I always read romance novels. So of course, before the Beverly Jenkins and the Francis Rays, you had your white authors, excuse me. So we just read romance until we could find our own. But it amazes me how on the other side they will not pick up a black romance
Yeah.
book. And I'm like, romance is romance. Doesn't shouldn't matter the color of the characters if you like romance, if you like shifters, if you like it, you like it. But they will not pick it up. And even at my kiosk, it's clearly displayed that I have black authors, and then they will come to me and legit ask for a white author. And you don't want to say, do you see a white author anywhere in on these shelves? And you're like, no, I'm sorry, I don't carry that one. Oh, well, when you do you think you'll carry it? No, not really. But if you like that genre, I have, and I'll point them to the romance or the self-helps or the fantasies. And they're like, yeah, no, that's okay. I said, oh, but I thought you liked fantasy. It shouldn't matter, right? You should like whatever you should like the genre. It doesn't matter the color of the characters. And they will not budge. And I'm like, but wow, this is 2021 and we're still having to
Mhm.
fight for our place. And it's like, it's books though. It's enough space to read everybody. And it's you're choosing not to, and
Mhm.
not because, oh, this author doesn't write well, or oh, this cover doesn't grab me. You're purposely not reading it for one distinct reason, and that's crazy to me.
So let me ask you guys, this is a follow-up question. It's not anywhere in which we like that I said that I was going to ask you this, but what I know that both of you have daughters, and actually your daughters and mine are really around the same age. So
Mhm.
we think about, like you say, as you got older, you have certain perceptions and you understand what it means to be a Black woman and what you struggle with. How did that kind of fit into what it meant to be a Black woman raising a young Black girl? And then Manina, we're gonna let you begin with that one.
Um, I try to lead by example. I try to have my daughter, well, two of my daughters, their one is 21 and one is 19. So
Okay.
you try to have those, especially the 19 that still lives at home, you try to have those real adult conversations. Because we let her know, like, there's no more mommy coming to the schools,
Mm-hmm.
there's no more PTA meetings for you. This is real world, real life. It's like remember the show 24? Everything is going fast.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be able to move, and you got to be able to think on your feet. And trying to show her different scenarios. That age, they're unfortunately so angry, but they don't even know why they're angry. So when different situations come up, especially my 19-year-old, she's with me a lot at pop-ups,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and she's like, "Whoa, why wouldn't they buy a book? It's crazy." And she's listening, and she's just like, "I don't understand," and trying to, teach her that unfortunately, they're not going to buy it. And the only reason they're not going to buy it is because the color of the skin of the authors. That's it. Or the bookstore owner, they're not going to buy it because of that. Oh, I don't read Black authors. Oh, I don't read that genre. You just said you do. So how do you not read that? And teaching her about relationships and work experiences, and she's just getting into that workforce, and trying to get her to understand that not everyone, no matter where you are, is going to have your best interest at heart. Letting She's the youngest, she's the only girl at her job, she's the
Mm-hmm.
youngest. Now it's a whole team is young, but I think she's the youngest coming in, and trying to explain, you're not a gopher. Don't just, oh, hey, go run and do this. That is not your job. Your job is to be in the store. Now, if you opt to do a run for everyone, then that's on you. But your daily job You're not a gopher, and don't let people treat you that way.
Right.
But I can't be the mama bear running up to the
Right.
store. So you're trying to teach her at the dining room table, her
Mhm.
limits and her boundaries. And then you gotta let them go off a little bit and learn those kind of, pitfalls as they go, and then just be there when she might, because she will fall. We all have. So just be there when that time comes.
What about you, August? I'm saying August like you're not shy. August, I mean, I don't know if you had conversations based on race, if that had any role in maybe um, things you chose to do as a mom, or maybe not because you understood what it would mean.
So my daughter and I, we've had lots of conversations about not just being a Black woman, but being a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I involved my tribe, my village, like my best friend and I, we sat down and we had a long conversation about sexual health with her when she was like 13. And we were like, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this. If this happens, it means this has happened. We try to give her as much information, and as much as she didn't want to hear it, it still kind of soaked in a little bit. But I know when I went to college in the mid 90s, the first time, that my first roommate, well, one of my roommates in college couldn't care for herself. Like, her mom was a stay-at-home mom and she never had to do anything for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew the moment I was going to have children that I wanted to raise them to be independent, not just independent people, but independent thinkers, so that, they wouldn't fall into the easy path of just doing whatever someone said. They would use some problem solving skills and be conscious of the things that were going to happen to them and work their way through problems as well. Because some people, common sense ain't common for everybody. So it's one of those things you really want to start imparting as early as possible in your children, that if A happens, then you need to figure out B and C.
That's exactly right. Have to be really deliberate and purposeful about it. We can go on a lot with that, but I think as women, there's some things that we have to have conversations with our daughters, and we have to be explicit. Because and even if they choose to go another way or listen to someone else, you at least know that you told them what they needed to hear. And like you said, they are fully functioning, thinking, independent people, and they have a choice to decide what is it they want to do. But you took the time to tell them whatever it is you felt that they needed to know. So that's important. So if we think about resilience, part of the title of the book, and what I didn't say in the beginning, show the book, is that Menina, when she introduced herself, she talked about the history of her company, Legacy Book Bar. So if you purchase the book, there are several essays of resilience in here. And Menina, she nicely put in part of what she shared today about her thinking about resilience, as far as her being a young person wanting to find books with people who look like her. And I think we all like that. So you'll have an opportunity to read a little bit about her history in The Color of My Resilience. So if you think about words, images, or people, what come to mind when you think about resilience? I think it's Shai's term. So what words, images, or people come to mind when you think of the word resilience?
Well, when I think of resilience, it's because my grandfather was half Indian. And so one of the things that, he taught me was to go out and seek knowledge. And I did. And one of the things that I think about is the moves I make today will have an impact on everything that'll happen in the future for my family and for my generation. And the Mohegan tribe, they have an outlook where what you do today resonates and will have effect all the way out for 13 generations of your family. So I always think about, this happens to me now. What can I do to make it better so it doesn't happen to like my daughter or my grandchildren or my 13 times great grandchildren, you know what I mean? So like I've gone through a lot in my life, and I think I've tried to internalize all those lessons so that I learn how to get around it. That's one of the reasons I work in emergency management now, is because I lived through Hurricane Katrina. I, lost 85% of my possessions. That was not going to come out right, was it? And I've learned, I always have good insurance. I've learned, to have an inventory of my home. I've learned to back up all my documents, on a hard drive that's external, and in the cloud. So these are, little things that I've learned, and I try to teach everyone around me these things as well.
But you know what you just said, especially that whole last part, those aren't actually little things, because when you don't have them, you see exactly how huge they are. So when you, all that part that you just listed, and that will fall actually under self-care. People don't necessarily think about self-care in this fullness. So in the book, I outlined, I think, about 7 different types of self-care. And for example, financial self-care is one of them. But all that stuff you talked about, all that is self-care, and it's definitely planning out, and it lowers your stress when you've built in those proper security measures for yourself. Because emergencies is not about if it's going to happen, it's about when, right? Something is always going to happen. We don't always know the extent, but something is always going to happen.
Yeah.
So thank you for
I'm
sharing.
here in New Jersey now, and I work at a DRC, which is a disaster recovery center, and people come in all the time and they're like, well, the insurance companies told us we didn't need flood insurance. And I'm like, and they're like, I don't live in a flood zone. And I'm like, every zone is a flood zone, because the number one disaster in the world is flooding. I tell people there's 5 kinds of flooding. There's, the sky opens up and God cries on you. And then there's riverine flooding. That's where it breaches over the banks. There's aquifer flooding. That's when it comes up from the ground. Then there's also the sewage flooding. That's when your sewage gets backed up. And then there's the coastal flooding, where it comes in from the sea in the Gulf. So, and flooding is the number one disaster, not just here in the US, but in the world. So everybody needs flood insurance. So
yeah, that's self-care right there. And so, Menina, what words, images, or people come to mind when you think of the word resilience?
Wording, strength, knowledge, power, and humbleness, I think, are the words I would use for resilience. I've been trying to get this bookstore off the ground, and before I even wanted the bookstore, I just knew I wanted to have my own business. And I went back and forth with so many different ideas as to what I wanted to do. So once I finally decided, okay, it's going to be a bookstore, this is what I'm going to do. I studied, I researched, I planned to get from, A to B, and then from B to C. And many a late nights at my dining room table that turned into my office, I was, knocking just little things off of my bucket list to create the magic that is Legacy Book Bar. But I had my daughter with me the entire time as I was planning. Because like Shy said, in her family's tribe, what you do today sets up for generations to come. I want to show my daughter that it's okay if you want to go out on your own and you want to be your own entrepreneur and figuring out what your passion is. It's okay, but be resilient in it, be strong about it, have all your ducks in order, and go forward. Doesn't matter what anybody says. I get so many, and surprisingly from us, that tell me that having a bookstore is not the smartest thing. Wow. It might not be the smartest thing for you. You might not see the value in having a bookstore, but I do. So even if it does, at least let me have the opportunity to try and say I at least did it.
And we need bookstores that are dedicated to Black voices, because the first thing that people try to do when they're taking over, becoming, going from a democracy to a totalitarian government, is to ban books, is to say, we don't want you to read this. We don't want you to learn this. We don't want you to know these things. And even if it's fiction or nonfiction, they know the thought of a book can spark an idea and spark generations. That's why they try and block communication. So of course we need small businesses that, revolve around the Black word.
That's exactly right. And so what you guys made me think of, and it's a little latter in far as what I want to ask you, but it fits in really well here. And I'm gonna start with Manina, because you mentioned your family time, and then Shy, you mentioned, your friends. So part of the resilience piece that I highlight in the book is the importance of community and the importance of allies. So I actually have a document in which I ask people to really just think about their allies, whether it's at home, if it's like in their, their neighborhood, their community, at work, at school, if you're there. But we need to have allies, and not all allies need to serve the same purpose. So when you think about your allies, you could talk about in any area of your life that you want, but who are your really strong allies, Manina, and what purpose do they serve in your life?
Well, of course, my family, my husband, my kids, my parents, I have always been, my number one supporter, getting the bookstore off the ground and going forward. Um, Once I decided, yes, I was going to start the bookstore, um, I have some key people that have definitely been in my corner, such as yourself, as far as the publishing side and the author side. I've been able to bounce ideas off of you. I think I cyber stalked you for about 3 weeks, just trying to get your books in the store. I have a really good friend of mine. Her name is Amanda Chambers. She has her own
Yes.
publishing
Yes.
company. um I remember her and I, surprisingly, she's from Baltimore, but she lives in North Carolina. Yet we grew up when she was here, probably less than a mile away from each other. And we have very the same interests. We are like two peas in a pod. But I didn't meet her until 2, 3 years ago, maybe. And through a Facebook group where I put a survey in to say, if a bookstore came into your neighborhood, what are some of the key things that you would look for in a brick and mortar bookstore? She answered the survey and she's like, hey, when you get your bookstore up and running, let me know. I own a publishing company. I'm like, own a publishing company? Who owns like, where does that, like, that just, I'm like, what do you mean you own a publishing company? Who does that? And okay, Shy does that clearly. And then at that time, Natalie does that. Sure. I didn't, I wasn't prepared on how easy, since she's like, yeah, she's like, on a publishing company. I think at that time, she had about 20 authors signed to her. Now she has over 50. And I'm like, oh, and she's constantly, hey, I'm sending this author to you. Hey, take my books, sell them, please. Go forth and be married. Please take them with you. Um, but then she's put me in touch with illustrators and then graphic designers and then a web designer. So it's just like extending the hand. And then when I have authors come to me and, they're asking, oh, does Legacy Book Bar publish? No, not my ministry at all. I don't even want to do that one. But if you're looking for publishers, I know where to send you. Or if you're looking for a logo design, I know where to send you. And then I just pay it forward because someone sent them to me. They have probably been the biggest ones. And then, some of the other authors that started with me from the beginning, I know like A.A. Lewis, she writes urban fiction. I remember when I first started and I just threw something on Instagram. It was like, hey, starting a bookstore, everyone, here we go. And she was like, yeah, I got a 3-book series. I was like, 3-book series? Really? Wow, okay. And I was like, so do you want to start with book 1? She's like, nope, just take all 3. I was like, really? She's like, no, here you go. And then I think she's written 2 more books since then. Every time she comes out with a new book, she's like, hey, I'm sending you your copy for you and this signed. And then here goes your copy, and doesn't hesitate, doesn't think. And then she's like, oh, so what do you need for the book summit? What do you need? I got you. What do you need? You need promotions? Can I create this for you? And I'm like, sure, go for it. And, not being used to it, I didn't ask. And it was like, no, you are a cheerleader. You help us out. Our books are with you. Whatever you need for you to be successful helps us be successful. So I'm going to make sure that you have everything you need. And it made me realize, like, It doesn't matter if someone's not gifting you $1 million to open up your bookstore. It's those little, I'm gonna do an ad for you, Natalie. I know you helped me out with one, and sharing a feed, sharing a post here and there. Like those things help because you never know who's going to see an Instagram post or Facebook post. And one post is, can start a revolution of a chain of bookstores. You never know. And you need those in whatever walk of life you have going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And was it Divine Legacy?
Divine Legacy
out there, right? And Amanda Chambers, most definitely. And even when I met, because I was like after you guys, and that allyship, so important. And like I said, everyone doesn't need to serve every part of what you need. When you do your interviews, I log in and guess who I see? I see mom there. All the time I see mom. I love it. I love it. I love it. And she's there. She's read the book. She's commenting, but she is just that support. She doesn't have to know about the other part of the business. You don't necessarily need that from her, but what she can offer, she does. And that is a tremendous amount of support on a different emotional level. So absolutely. I always think it's beautiful when I see her, when I went out and I saw your daughter sitting there in, not saying she always probably wants to be there. She's young, she's helping mom, and that's great. What about you, Shai? Who are your allies, and what do they do for you? Or maybe also, what do you do for them?
Well, I've only been publishing 3 years. So like, I've had different people just take my hand and pull me along. And even though I am a researcher, if I couldn't do nothing else, if I could only do one job that paid me, I would want to be a researcher because I love to dig for information. So even me digging for information, sometimes you don't get the nuance of stuff, you don't get the full context of it. And so I've had plenty of people just pull me along and be like, here, meet this person, do this, and oh, let me read your book or let me share your post. And like even now, I'm teaching a class because you wanted to know how I'm doing something. Yeah, so not just you, but other people have asked too. So I was like, well, why don't I just teach a class? And because I didn't think other people would want to know. I was like, other people have. Well, okay. So first, the class is for published authors or for anyone who wants to be an author, and it's how to do your own Patreon. But a patron for yourself and not giving your money to Patreon is how it goes. And this is one of those things where it's only because someone's reached out to me and asked me how to do it that I want to teach someone else how to do it myself. And that's paying the information forward because so many people have asked me how to do things, or I've asked them and they've shown me the way.
Yeah. And it's a give and take. You need to be an ally to other people, and a lot of times when you do it, you're not thinking about the fact that you necessarily want something from them in return, but you will receive it, especially if you surround yourself by the right people. And I've seen some of your allies online, and you have quite a few of them, I think. Quite a few. So let me ask you guys this question. And I always say this, and it's actually 2 questions, and I'm only asking you to respond to one. And is it Shai next? I'm going to say it's you. So I'm going to say it's you. So again, it's 2 questions, just select one. Describe a time in your life in which you felt truly resilient, or a time in your life in which you felt you weren't as resilient as you wanted or needed to be.
Oh,
I'm so glad you went first.
So a time in my life where I haven't been as resilient as I should have been or I needed to be.
Or you could ask the one in which you felt truly resilient. That's an option there.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna go with the negative one because I mean that way. I guess after my divorce, or maybe after I got fired from like what I perceived to be my dream job. So like because those are things that make you want to sit on the couch and eat tubs of Bluebell ice cream and watch movies that make you cry, and or never ending stream of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints commercials, so you can get all those good tears out. Or that episode of This Is Us when William dies.
This Is Us just makes you cry every week though, like
but the one with William,
that took me out. Yeah,
man, that if you weren't ready, you'd end up in an emotional coma after that. So yeah.
So what did you do? I mean, I'm sure it took time, but did you do anything consciously, deliberately, to kind of get yourself, like you said, from point A to point B, to pull yourself out of that malaise?
Well, I've done a couple things. I've gone to therapy. I'm a writer, so I journal out my feelings and all the bad and the good with it. I've had friends come and figuratively kick my ass out the bed. Like, if you don't get your shit together today, we're not going to be with you anymore, that kind of thing. So it just depends on the circumstance. Sometimes you need different things to give you that boost you need. Like, if I hadn't gone to therapy, then I wouldn't be so good at journaling my feelings. But I wouldn't be so good at journaling my feelings if I didn't have so many feelings to begin with, So one of those things where, I know when things are going bad for me when I'm looking for my journal, because I need to write them down all the time.
And that is resilience. And we have to be clear about our strategies, because we all need them. And when we don't have strategies, we kind of like, we just really don't know what to do. So you kind of like just wander around, right? Yeah. What about you?
And one of the things that if you don't have something to tether you is you will wander around. You'll be lost. And that's when you make the worst decisions. You go from a bad decision to a worse decision.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Menina, what about you? Either a time in which you felt truly resilient or you struggled with resilience?
Oh gosh, I have stories for either side. I mean, Jesus.
Be over here with the hard questions. These are like SAT level questions.
Wait a minute. Like, was this on the forms?
Yes.
I think it was. I don't think it was.
All right. I mean, I guess to make it quick and simple, probably not as resilient. I'm on my second marriage. So when I got divorced from my first husband, I definitely should have went to therapy. That was key. Did not do that. I mean, but again, how old is Michaela? 19? This is probably 15 some odd years ago. So, they weren't talking about Blacks going to therapy, or really anybody going to therapy as openly as they do now. It was, just go to church and give it to Jesus. I'm too angry for Jesus. I don't think he's ready for this anger right now. I'm not sure about that. You might want to see me when I'm a little calmer for this, but that was the young me. And I should have taken that time to go back to school and get my degree. And I was just too angry to truly focus on doing things in the original plan that I had. So, I took the easy way. I'm gonna just go to a trade school. I'm gonna just get the certification and I'm just gonna be done. Not thinking that I'm still spending the exact shorter time, but I'm still spending the same amount of money. Should have just taken the time and gotten a degree and just got it over with. But I didn't do that. But it's okay. But after working through my anger and even though I didn't have therapy, I just got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of being angry. And then once I said I was tired of being angry, little by little, the chips were falling off of my shoulders. And I probably shouldn't have taken so long if I would have done therapy. But, once I got to that point, like, I'm tired, like, this is ridiculous. I'm not sleeping, he's sleeping. This is ridiculous. I'm way too cute for this. Get your life together. Let's get it. and I
Yeah.
just and I it snaps me out of it. And it opened once I did that and I calmed myself down and got through it. I got to having the good corporate job that I wanted, and then settled down some more into that career. Then actually got to meet the guy should have probably been with it the first marriage instead of the second marriage. But we're here now, and then now we're double digit years later, we're still here. But I
Right.
probably had to go through the heartache and the pain to really appreciate what I have now. Who's to
Right.
say I would have that same appreciativeness towards him if I hadn't have gone through what I went through. So
And you raise a point about anger. Like, what do you do with the anger? And it's legitimate. It's like, I understand why you're angry. It makes sense. You've earned the right to be angry. But if that anger put you in a place in which you're stuck and you can't move past it, it's like, what do you do with that anger? You have to figure out something to do with it where you're not burning yourself up and burning other people up as well, because it has to go somewhere.
I think it was Oprah who said, being angry at somebody is like it benefits you. It doesn't benefit anyone, and it hurts you more than it's going to hurt them. So
yeah. And say the same thing about forgiveness, that forgiveness isn't really for the person who is being forgiven. It really is for you. So it's for your mental health, for your, and when I say spiritual, I don't say mean religious, but it's for your spiritual health as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for sharing that. And I'm just going to have a couple of more questions for you. So, because you gave examples of self-care, and I think in how you answer those questions, because sometimes people will just struggle with it on their own. They just kind of like talk to themselves, kick, you talk about give your own self a swift kick in the butt, take yourself through your own paces. And then some that can work for some people. It may take a little longer. But that's not a route that everyone can take. And it also may depend on how heavy the load is they carry. You just may not be able to do it on your own. So when you think about, we'll begin with Manina this time, when you think about your self-care, what does it look like? And I'm a layer this question. So what do you do right now that you consciously say, I'm doing this for my self-care? But then are there other areas that you know right now that you can improve on, that you could say, you know what, starting next, say tomorrow, that you want to start doing that will improve your quality of life? So that is a multi-layered question.
Okay. Right. So right now, with my work schedule, my only day off is Thursdays. Thursdays, the house is absolutely quiet. Everyone is gone to school, to work. The house is quiet. My mom came over here last week and said, you have candles burning on a Thursday with jazz music playing. Like, who's here with you? I said, there's nobody. It's legit just me. And when I tell you that, I think I made a Facebook post. I was like, hot coffee plus jazz music equals candles plus jazz music plus hot coffee equals the perfect day off. And it was. Now, granted, I went through this house, like the general cleaning in every nook and cranny I can get to, but it was so quiet and so peaceful. I was like, yes. And that's me. Like, no TV on, just play some soft, mellow music, get through the day. I'm a person, so me, Natalie, I'm like, I might go buy some hair that day. I'm gonna go get my nails done. I'm just whoo. And in that time, I always say from 8:30 when I drop my son off until about 5 o'clock on that day, it's just me. And if I choose not to do anything that day, whew, it is golden. Like, I am relishing. Like, I can't wait to Thursday to come again so I can repeat and do it again. But I know me, on the other part of your question, I'm not the best with finances. Like I'm okay, but I know I can do better.
Right.
So what I told myself was, I know going into 2022, I am going to hire like a financial advisor to make sure that I'm doing the absolute best with personal and business finances, and
Yes.
making sure that going into 2022 and then hereafter, that I am where I need to be heading into 40. That's my own personal promise
Okay.
to myself. And I know if I'm secure financially, that will take that extra added migraine off of my head. Like, oh, wait, did you pay that bill today? Okay, great, you did that. Because if you're set financially, you don't have to worry about it because the money is
Yeah.
there to make sure that it's done.
Yeah. And you still got a little guy in the house who, in a few years might be like, yeah, I need to go to college. So
Yeah, he might want to do that.
he may want to do that.
Oh boy.
That's
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So you got to keep working because you got that little
Yeah, I can't work.
You got to
One's
keep
in
working.
college and one's in college now. We're like, all right,
To get
last year for
started.
this one's coming out, one's going in, and then saving for the little one. Like,
Right.
y'all really want this education for real, for real. All right, noted. Okay.
Definitely
Yes,
do that. Follow through. And that'll make
Yeah.
so many other things a lot easier. What about you,
Mhm.
Sha? What are some things that you deliberately, consciously do right now to help with your self-care? And then what are some other aspects that you could do a better job?
Currently I'm trying to save all my money. I'm trying to stack my money financially so that, I can concentrating on becoming a full-time writer and publisher. So I can leave some of these jobs behind. Another thing I do, I always joke that one day I'm going to walk into the massage therapist and be like, here, just take my card and rub me until it declines. And
oh, write that down somewhere, Shy. Oh my God, the stuff you say, I could not come up with
just
that.
Rub me until the card finishes. That's how I am about that. But also, I know I say this every year at New Year's, and I'm like, I need a business coach and a mentor and a life coach and a personal trainer. And every year I go through the year and I don't make any progress on any of them. But I swear for 2022, I'm going to do that. I'm going to find me all these people who are going to, because I know I've reached a point where I can't take myself any further on my own. And I need the additional assistance. Right. You know what I mean? I don't have an MBA, but I read all the MBA books and I know how to do this and I know how to do that. But at certain point, I can't do it all. And I'm also going to hire an assistant and get an intern as well. Oh, and my next big thing is I'm going to get a maid because.
Yes, I want one too.
She just perked up with that one, right?
Let me tell you, I want one too.
Yeah, that's my next thing. I get my groceries delivered most of the time, and now I'm gonna invest in a maid. It's just me, but like I still don't want to do it. I hate washing dishes. I hate mopping the floor. I don't want to do it anymore.
I actually like grocery shopping. I'm kind of weird that way. Like it is so quiet when I go grocery shopping by myself. It is. But I go in the morning. Like when I go on Thursdays, like the kids are in school, I go first thing before the whole crowd is there. And I just go in aisles that don't even make sense. Like I have no pets. I don't even like I don't like them at all. But I promise you, if I'm by myself, I'm going down a cat aisle. Why? Because I can. Because I have the time and no one is bothering me.
No one is there. No one is in that cat aisle.
No one is bothering. Right. And I'm just like, if I had a cat, this looks like it's really good cat food. I don't know why it's so expensive though. And I question it. And then I just keep moving. I mean, I have no desire to get a pet by no means, but I have that moment where I can have that thought process in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. That is so. Like I hear the chimes going by, the birds chirping, and then I just get to like, oh, let me get this case of water, and this one needs some fruit snacks. And I mean, I still get the stuff that I'm supposed to get, but it's so quiet. The grocery store by yourself. It's great.
So that right there It's a prime example of the fact that self-care is very much personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What Manina's menu of items, what she needs to feel balanced, at ease with herself and the world around her. That recipe is not mine. It's not Shy's at all. So. No, but it just goes
in the grocery store. I do not recommend outside. There are people there, 0 stars.
But you know, I think part of it, especially with the book, is I put so much time into people understanding who they are as an individual. Because once you understand that, you can really start making some serious decisions for yourself. Mm-hmm. But you have people running around and they really don't have a good understanding of who they are. Mm-hmm. And why they feel and believe what they do. So I do take some time to look at that. I was gonna have 2 quick final questions for you guys, and I'm gonna let you go. And whose turn is it? Is it your turn, Shy?
I think so.
Okay, I was gonna claim that anyway. So what I'm gonna let me see. I always struggle between the 2 questions, but with you ladies, I'm gonna ask you to complete the following sentence. I love.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I love myself.
Yes.
I love myself. I love the life that I'm building for myself because, you know, I'm an empty nester now. So like, mm-hmm. I love decorating. Who knew I love decorating?
Nice.
I love the life that I'm building for myself and in the choices I'm making for my future.
That's nice. That's beautiful. What about you, Manina? You love?
Actually, I'm gonna have to steal Shy's answer. I do like. I am loving life right now, even with the ups and downs that just life throws at you. The path that I'm on right now, I'm loving it. I was at my mom's house earlier today and she's like, "Are you all ready for this event? What are you doing again?" And I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So I'm explaining it to her and she was like, "Oh yeah, you did tell me that. Okay. Am I supposed to be there?" Yeah, let's go. I got your t-shirt ready for you. Yes, ma'am. But then she'll make a comment and say, "I wish I was still working because I would make sure you have the money for your bookstore because that's all you've been talking about." And it's like, that's not your job, lady. But she's like, you glow. And even my husband was like, it's the kids, it's the bookstore. And that's all you talk about. But you're just so passionate about both
that's
of
the word right there.
And I'm like, because the minute I get this bookstore, I'm quitting that 9 to 5. I'm out of there. Like, I gotta go.
That's right.
I'm out. But if you can't be passionate about life, then you have to figure out where your passion is. Yes. And I think once I decided, yes, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and then yes, it's going to be this bookstore, it unlocked that passion of life for me. And now everything is, let's take the kids to the pumpkin farm. Let's figure out, let's do this social media over here. Let's talk to Indy Jones on a Sunday during football season. I'm still going to do it for her because I love her.
He loves football. Oh, I wasn't even thinking.
I was like, did she just say something? But because I love her,
I feel so bad. I do. Oh man.
But because I'm
out here being nice to people when my Saints lost, and I need to be drowning my sorrows and
girl.
I'm telling you, I'm so glad you. And then I said, she said 7 o'clock. Oh, the Ravens play at 4:30. I'll be done in time. And of course, I hit connect as soon as it was like 5 seconds left in the game. I was like, now I can focus because if the Ravens was on,
girl,
was not to be 100% focused.
We were out at a restaurant last week when they played, and they had the game on, and they was down by like a point, and it was like maybe like 40 something seconds. I was like, I'm not even gonna watch. I'm just gonna eat. And I look back up, they're cheering, and they're up by 2. And so another people were all like, what happened? Literally, people were sitting right underneath the television. They had no idea. Freaking field goal. that last little bit was a field goal. And I was like, I missed it, but it was nice. They won and they made the end of my dinner even better for it. So can't mess with Manina on football season with the Ravens.
But only for you.
Well, man, note to self in the future. I need to make sure. I need to pick up with you in March now. Right.
Give me Super Bowls like that first Sunday in February. After that, I'm all yours.
That's why I said March. That's what I'm talking about. We can forget about baseball. So now I want to see what your answer to this question is, because it's the very last question, ladies. And it is your first, Manina. So what is the color of your resilience? Sigh for that one.
It's my brand color, but I'm actually going to say red. And I'm going to say red because that is the color of fire. And I am unstoppable with anything I choose to do. So my resilience color will be red.
Man, I'm not even scared. I'm not even scared for Shy, because Shy got too much going on. She acting like she's all like, I don't know how to follow that up.
With all them books back there, she's the whole rainbow back there.
She's sitting up here like, oh, red fire. All right, Shy, what's the color of your resilience?
I'm a publisher too. Yeah, come on with your rainbow color of resilience, madam.
I'm actually going to go with black because it's all encompassing. So like, you can only dilute black. You can't, add to it and make it any different. So like, I'm gonna go with black.
She couldn't just say like, black people, stuff like that. She had to go all deep with it. No,
Shy is great.
I love it because I have some other people that like black. They just like, that's just it, and they're done. You're the first person to say red though, Manina. I've had several people to say purple, so I was wondering if you was really going to be true diehard purple with the Ravens. But you stayed on brand. I
stayed on brand, which actually was crazy. Purple was my original brand color. It was actually going to be purple, black, and gold. That was the original one. And then my illustrator, who is so amazing. Actually, I was working with the illustrator and a graphic designer at the same time. The illustrator was done first. She did her illustration, but she used red. And when I saw it, I was like, so can I change my color now? Because I don't think I want purple anymore. And my business coach and graphic designer also wanted to change the color, but they wasn't sure. Like, if we tell her that this isn't a good choice, is she gonna be mad at us? And I'm like, no, but I want to change it anyway. And we wind up changing it to the main color of red now. So.
And that red that you use, it pops. So ladies, we are at the end of our time together. And I want to thank you. Absolutely. You guys know I value, I respect you. And it was a joy, as always, listening to you, getting to know you on a different level, getting you two together and seeing you help each other. And I know that this it will not end here, that you guys are going to go forward and hopefully have a really good relationship and partnership and networking. And a lot of what you ladies talked about was that networking, was that sisterhood. And I always feel it when I speak with either one of you. So thank you both for being here. I want to thank the guests for stopping by for another self-care with Indy Jones. I want to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you haven't already liked this great conversation, make sure you do that as well. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with another conversation, more talk of self-care and resilience, and 2 additional special guests. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support me, please visit my website at indyjonesparanormalpleasure.com, where you can find more information about my self-care journals, coloring books, and paranormal romance and urban fantasy novels. If you want to purchase some fun goodies for yourself or a friend, stop by the store tab, where I have links to all of my shops. And finally, If you want to stay updated on upcoming events, giveaways, and all things ND Jones, please follow me at ND Jones Author on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Until next time, thank you.